Part 50. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 491. For anyone, lifestyle is very important. In the short period of more than 10 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China, Chen Baoqiu and Wang Quilin have seen many cadres being dismissed because of their lifestyle issues. Some are real problems, while others are just reports made by others out of thin air. Those who made things out of nothing are still dealt with seriously, let alone Zhao Yide, who really has a problem. Is there really a problem? Feng Qingxiu asked softly. Wang Quilin nodded. Not just one question, but a lot of questions have been investigated. This is really something you won't know until you investigate. You will be shocked when you investigate. It turns out that this is not the first time that Zhao Yide has done this kind of thing. She looked at the passers-by who were still peeping or listening carefully, thought for a moment, and pulled Feng Qingxiu home. I'm telling you, Xiaoxiu, when you go back to your hometown, don't come to the city for a while. Come back when things calm down. Your uncle and I will open the door to welcome you, Wang Quilin said seriously. I guess after a while, the Discipline Inspection Commission we need to investigate all the cadres of the Municipal Party Committee. If Zhao Yide dares to do such a thing under their noses, will others do the same? Feng Qingxiu looked solemn. Auntie, will your third uncle be okay? Don't worry. Your uncle is neither greedy nor lewd. What's the point? Wang Quilin's face was full of trust. I remember my aunt said that my grandpa and grandma depended on buying high-priced food to make ends meet. Will this private transaction be reported? Feng Qingxiu refused to take it lightly and continued, it would be better for my aunt and third uncle to find a way to sweep away the situation. Wang Quilin was stunned and said, don't worry, I know. In fact, many people in the city have been in and out of the black market and bought high-priced grain. Everyone knows it very well, but unless they are caught by the staff who are in charge of prohibiting buying and selling, everyone will refuse to admit it. In Secretary Niu's family, only Secretary Niu and his eldest son have urban household registration and have working income. The others all have rural household registration. They live with Secretary Niu in the city and do not farm in their hometown. They have no food supply and do not buy food. If the price of food is high, why don't you just wait to starve to death? So even though Secretary Niu is the top leader and his salary is not low, the family is living a tight life. The 20 yuan and 10 kilograms of coarse grains that Wang Quilin borrowed a few months ago have not been paid back yet. The Discipline Inspection Commission will not pay attention to this kind of thing. They only care about the lifestyle of cadres, especially Zhao Yide, who has a lot to describe. Since Zhao Yide was arrested and the content of the report letter was found to be true, the Commission for Discipline Inspection also found that Zhao Yide had been supporting an actor for a long time. Before liberation, the actor was a famous actor in the local Liyuan industry. He sang in Xingyi with the stage name Xiao Dahong. After liberation, he was originally, although she was liberated, she had already developed a flamboyant, vain, and unearned temperament. Even though she married a bachelor under the arrangement of the state, she could not bear the pain of not having a good meal, so she flirted with Zhao Yide. Xiao Dahong used to be a famous actress in the opera troupe, just like Chen Xuanyang was the top of the brothel. They were all the owners of wealthy gentry and warlords who spent a lot of money, and it was not Zhao Yide's turn to marry Fangs. Now, Xiao Dahong has been reduced to an ordinary female worker. The psychological gap is too big and it is difficult to accept it. She just wants to climb a high tree. Finally, she is asked to climb up to Zhao Yide, who has never been able to succeed before but has always been obsessed with her. The two secretly communicate with each other. Love, regardless of their husbands, and sometimes even let their husbands look after them. The previous article was too heavy, so I had to move forward the chapter. The content is correct, woo woo woo. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 492. The cadres of the Discipline Inspection Commission went to investigate, and Xiao Dahong's husband, Liao Gushan, immediately knew everything and vomited out his bitterness. Political Commissar Zhao is having an affair with the wife of the water seller Wang. Liao Gushan was not willing to be criticized like a rat crossing the street after being cuckolded. He immediately dragged others into the water. I listened to Xiao Dahong and Political Commissar Zhao under the window. Yes, Xiao Dahong is still jealous about this, because the fat boy born to Lao Wang's wife is the son of Political Commissar Zhao, and Political Commissar Zhao will give Lao Wang's wife 10 yuan every month. What a mess! The faces of several cadres of the Discipline Inspection Commission suddenly turned as black as ink. After returning to the meeting to discuss, they decided to intensify the investigation. It didn't take long to turn everything about Zhao Yide upside down, including the past of his first wife who died of anger in Mianhu Asulia before liberation. After the death of Zhao Yide's parents, the children of his first wife severed ties with him and went to the great northern wilderness, all because of this incident. After the investigation, Chen Swiniang was almost implicated. Fortunately, Zhao Yide stayed in a brothel when his first wife was so angry that it had nothing to do with Chen Swiniang. She was being kept by a big warlord at the time and did not accept other customers, so it was not something Zhao Yide could see. Later, the big warlord was defeated, and the person Zhao Yide relied on came to power, and he had the opportunity to become her guest. Chen Swiniang had nothing to do with Zhao Yide as early as after liberation. After liberation, she actively participated in labor and performed well. Although she was not married, she was always polite to men and was always grateful to the leaders for rescuing her from suffering. Everyone had heard her thank the leaders and the country. Zheng Jinrui, the director of the textile factory, personally vouched for it, and Wang Erniu could also prove that no other man had ever entered the yard except her husband, son, and Lu Zibao. The cadres of the Discipline Inspection Commission sternly warned Chen Swiniang and let her go. The content of the instructions was nothing more than asking Chen Swiniang to keep up her efforts and not to develop the bad habits of the past. Please rest assured, leaders, that Chen Swiniang has changed her mind a long time ago. She can have a good life today, earn her own living, be clean, and do not need to be escorted or escorted. I am very grateful to the country and the leaders. Without them, I can only continue to suffer. The oppression of the feudal society will never escape the sea of suffering, so I cherish the happy life I gained after liberation and will never repeat the same mistakes. After seeing off the cadres of the Discipline Inspection Commission, Chen Swiniang gasped for air, with a flash of sternness and fear in her eyes. She thought her life had returned to peace, but she didn't expect that she would be burdened by Zhao Yide, and she would have to face rumors for a while. What she did not tell the truth to the cadres of the Discipline Inspection Commission was that Zhao Yide came to see her after liberation, but she sternly rejected him. She finally escaped from the sea of suffering. She didn't have to die in pain from a heart disease like her predecessors did. She didn't have to either receive some vile guests or spend her life savings to buy a house that was not accepted by the world like her predecessors. Although he was a free man, he eventually died in the cold eyes of the world. Even his body was considered dirty when it was sent to the cremation ground. Faced with Zhao Yide's threats and inducements, Chen Swiniang was not afraid at all, and instead threatened Zhao Yide. She has hope in life and will not allow herself to fall into the clutches of the devil again. Zhao Yide cherishes his life and future. He withers when Chen Swiniang is strong, so he has been walking around Chen Swiniang for more than 10 years without any contact, fearing that Chen Swiniang will be unhappy and drag him into trouble. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 493. To Chen Swiniang's expectation, Zhao Yide's incident did not affect her life in the following time. Everyone's eyes are on Zhao Yide, the little widow, Xiao Dahong, and Lao Wang's wife. Everyone is more interested in the former than Chen Swiniang, who has been active in reforming her past and has been rated as an advanced worker every year. Although everyone is very talkative and loves to gossip, many things are seen by them, and they feel like a mirror. Chen Swiniang goes to and from get off work on time. After spending time together, no one knows better than them what kind of person Chen Swiniang is. A foxtail can be hidden for a day or two but not for a lifetime. Only talents like Wang Erniu and Wang Fengmei can hide it every day. Call her a vixen, but in fact Chen Swiniang has always lived her own life in a decent manner. On the other hand, they had always heard about Xiao Dahong, Lao Wang's wife, and Zhao Yide, but there was no evidence. Of course, what I didn't expect was the little widow. The little widow was usually very serious, but she actually had an affair with Zhao Yide. I'm afraid they were fooling around before her husband died. It's not sure who the child is. As we all know, the little widow's husband who died early was very weak. The little widow was a child bride bought by their family. The third child was born in the 10th month after her husband's death. It is said that she was a posthumous child, but no matter how you calculate it, it is wrong. Before her husband died, but I have been bedridden for a long time. Can I have sex? So there must be something fishy in the little widow's words. Can she support 3 children with her salary of around 20 yuan a month? He lives a very moist life and even wears cream, so he definitely has a dirty source of income. Facts have proved that the little widow lied and disguised herself as the victim, and her guest was not only Zhao Yide, but also a bachelor with no wife and children who lived next door to her house and gave her all the money he earned. Mothers for flowers. It was very lively now, leaving lots of things for everyone to talk about. The sentence was passed very quickly. In view of Zhao Yide's bad character, he was sentenced to death and deprived of all his positions. Xiao Dahong, the young widow and Lao Wang's wife were paraded in the streets and had to participate in labor reform until they reformed before they could be released. Wang Fengmei's world suddenly collapsed. She discovered Zhao Yide's virtue not long after her marriage. Even if the two parents-in-law tried their best to hide it for Zhao Yide, there were some things that could not be hidden from the person next to her. She was afraid that Zhao Yide would divorce her and let her continue to be a country boy, so she could only pretend deaf and dumb. Besides, which capable man doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines? As long as she doesn't need money to spend. Now, Zhao Yide's scandal has been exposed. He is dead and his daughter is paralyzed. After taking care of her daughter, she has to go to work and face everyone's criticism. How can she live her life? No one sympathized with them, especially Hong Daimei, who said in front of Wang Quilin, "You deserve it. You deserve it. Evil is punished." Poor my son, they forced him to leave his hometown. As he said this, he couldn't help but shed tears. Feels sorry for her son's lost golden love. She also likes Zhou Yulan very much, but now there is no chance. Chen Swiniang found it boring. "Sister Quilin, I miss Zibao. I won't go to work tomorrow. I'll go to the countryside to see the 2 of them." "Will you go?" She didn't want to use her meat ticket this month, so she would buy a piece of meat for Zibao tomorrow morning. Used to make meat porridge or meat puree. Wang Quilin said that she didn't have time. Cadres in various agencies and units were conducting self-examination. So Chen Swiniang went out alone. You can't go wrong again, right? Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 494. Cheng Baoqiu and Wang Quilin didn't go out. Chen Swiniang borrowed their bicycles and rode all the way to the door of Lu's house. Feng Qingxiu was looking for Zibao along the way, and caught him at the door, who was still trying to run away. "What's wrong?" Chen Swiniang looked at Zibao, who was caught by her mother. The weather was hot, and he was naked in a red belly band and a pair of single shoes on his feet. His arms and legs were all naked and washed. The lotus root joints are clean, but the whole body is stained with feces, which makes it lose its beauty. The two chubby hands are also holding the feces, and they stretch it out in front of Feng Qingxiu without feeling the smell at all. "Mom," the little fat man shouted happily. "You stink so bad, Lu Zibao." "You stinky guy," Feng Qingxiu yelled with raised eyebrows. She carried him into the yard and washed the baby resignedly. "Take off your shoes and belly band, they are all covered in shit, take them off and throw them aside." Chen Swiniang quickly pushed the bicycle into the yard and stopped, stepping forward to help. "Sister Xuaniang, just help me scoop out the water. Zibao's shit is so smelly, don't get it on you." Feng Qingxiu held down her son who was flopping in the wooden basin, and basked in the water in the yard for a long time. Warm and warm, Zibao almost buried his head in the water where he was washed. Before his mouth touched the water, he was grabbed by Feng Qingxiu. "Lu Zibao, the water is full of your shit." After washing him hastily, Feng Qingxiu took him out and said, "Sister Xuaniang, please help me pour out the water and replace it with new water." Chen Xuaniang suppressed her laughter and helped change the water. Feng Qingxiu washed Zibao, fished it out and carried it directly into the house. After drying it, he threw it on the bed and said with her hands on her hips, "Lu Zibao, do you know that you are wrong? Can you play with shit? Didn't you say it smells bad? Does it smell?" Can you imagine the size of the shadow in her heart? As soon as he turned around to get toilet paper to prepare his son to wipe his butt, his son started playing with the hot poop on the ground. When he saw her coming out of the house, he thought she was trying to snatch his poop, so he ran out all the way, bumping around. She should have. "Are you glad that the little fat guy didn't stuff shit into your mouth?" Zibao sat naked on the bed, with layers of meat on his belly and round arms and legs. The whole person looked like a little neza made of tender lotus roots, except for two small knots on his head. He raised his face and blinked his big black eyes, as if he didn't understand why his mother was angry. "Mom," he called, pointing to the bottle on the bedside table, his fat flesh trembling with excitement. "Milk! Milk! Milk!" Feng Qingxiu expressed her admiration for the son, picked up the red belly band on the side and put it on for him. Seeing him struggling, she immediately yelled, "Lu Zibao, put on clothes before drinking milk. If you don't wear clothes, don't give milk." "Mom," Zibao obediently allowed her to dress him. "Put on a red belly band and put on the clothes made by Zhou Yulan. The red background and white flowers make the little guy's skin whiter and his lips redder. Milk! Milk!" When his mother was putting on his shoes, she pointed at the bottle and shouted, "Okay, okay, I'll make some milk powder for you." Leaving Zibao holding the bottle to Chen Swiniang's care, Feng Qingxiu began to deal with the poop from the yard to the door, then washed her belly, brushed her shoes, soaped them several times, and hung them up to dry. Wang Xiao, who came to visit with a dog egg in her arms, couldn't help laughing after learning the whole story. "What's the matter? My mother said that my eldest brother even stuffed sheep feces eggs into his mouth when he was a child. My mother found out at that time, his mouth was full of black sheep feces eggs. Zibao was just playing with feces." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 495. Feng Qingxiu simply couldn't imagine that kind of scene. She believed that Miao Fengqin's psychological shadow at that time must have been no less than her own. Hearing Wang Jiao's gloating laughter, she said angrily, "Be careful, your little bitch will play with feces and eat sheep feces in the future. Let's see how you, the mother, feel." Wang Jiao said nonchalantly, "It's okay, let my mother-in-law take care of it. Shit was so dirty and smelly, and she didn't want to get her hands on it." Feng Qingxiu gave her a white look and called Chen Swiniang into the room. "It's hot outside, let's go inside and talk." "I'm not going, I'm just going out to walk around, cook a pot for my mother later, and have a meal by the way." Wang Jiao hugged Gauden and skipped away. "Gauden, let's go find grandma, let grandma make steamed egg custard for you." Gauden, whose skin was still dark all over, responded with a silly smile. Feng Qingxiu shook her head and went inside to pour Chen Xuanyang a cup of tea. Wild mint collected in spring is soaked in hot water, which is refreshing and thirst-quenching. "Sister Xuanyang, I wonder if everything has calmed down in the city now. I'm afraid that until it has calmed down, I haven't gone out to look for you. Also, Sister Xuanyang, the birthday gift you gave Zibao was too expensive, and you deserve it." On Bao's birthday, Feng Qingxiu put the kit into the space when no one was around, but later forgot about it. She didn't remember to open it until she went home to clean up the space. She lived in the city for 3 months. When she had free time in the evening, she would go to the black market and gain a lot of money. It was inconvenient to live in Cheng's house, so I wanted to tidy it up when I got home. Little did I know that Chen Xuanyang's gift to Zibao was actually a beautifully carved mutton fat white jade longevity lock and a pair of gold bracelets. The longevity lock is delicate and moist, and is considered top-notch. The gold bracelet is a shrimp whisker bracelet, the size of a child, and the 2 dragons grabbing beads are woven with gold wire. The silk craftsmanship alone is worth a lot, not to mention that the beads' long cow grabs are dongju, and the 2 bracelets are 2 light golden round pearls. Dongju was a tribute in the Qing dynasty. Chen Xuanyang held Zibao sitting on her lap with one hand and waved with the other. "What is that jade thing worth in today's world? In the old days, it was worth 2 cents. It was something that dignitaries liked to play with and could represent their status." "Something. The bracelet only weighs a few grams, but I can't exchange it in the bank, lest someone discovers I'm hiding it." At this point, she smiled slightly and whispered, "I heard that the bracelet was worn by the emperor. I guess it was some young emperor in the Qing palace. I don't know why it ended up in the hands of the warlord who supported me. Later, they were given to me among the jewelry. No one is worthy of this pair of bracelets except Zibao, so you can just keep them alive and pass them on to your grandson, right?" She lowered her head and said the last sentence to Zibao, who was already drowsy after drinking the milk powder and his eyes seemed to be closed. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly picked up Zibao, coaxed him to sleep soundly, and put him on the bed. She pulled the towel and covered his belly. She turned around and continued talking to Chen Xuanyang. After the child fell asleep, the adults felt relaxed. Chen Xuanyang told her everything about the situation in the city. Feng Qingxiu was speechless. "Isn't it too complicated? Zhao Yide actually had an affair with several people so blatantly. What kind of courage did Zhao Yide have? Also, how did you handle it so quickly? Just kill him. Never mind them. If Zhao Yide is dead, Wang Fengmei and Zhao Mingfang won't be able to make waves." Chen Xuanyang said, "I was too busy to eat in the morning, so I ate an egg. Now I need to eat. As for whether there will be any updates today, I don't know. I must not make the wrong post again. The afternoon is God's time." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 496. Whether Wang Fengmei and Zhao Mingfang can cause trouble has nothing to do with Feng Qingxiu. It is estimated that even if the Wang Zhenqiu brother and sister heard that Zhao Yide was shot and Zhao Mingfang had his leg broken, they would not want to visit. Sorry, they don't know which way Wang Fengmei's door opens. Chen Xuanyang went back in the afternoon and brought 2 baskets of fresh vegetables, one of which was given to Cheng Baoqiu. The vegetables from the Lu family's private land are never sold, and are dried into dried vegetables when they are not eaten. Therefore, there is no shortage of vegetables all year round. However, Most families in the Wanglu Brigade use their private land to grow ginger, garlic, potatoes, and other vegetables, and wait until the harvest is harvested. Keep enough for your own food, and sell the excess to the supply and marketing cooperative, which will then transport it to the city, which is a system of unified purchasing and marketing. Look, it's another basket of vegetables. You don't have to buy them, and you can save a lot of food at home. People always say that my parents-in-law love Zibao too much, and they are not her biological children, but this is no different from her biological children, right? What's there to eat without thinking about me? Wang Quilin asked Chen Swiniang. Chen Swiniang pursed her lips and smiled and said, in this world, it doesn't matter whether you are close or not, what is important is love. What kind of relationship did he have with Feng Qingxiu before? Because they struck up a conversation while waiting in line to buy food, she was very sincere about her subsequent interactions. After living in a brothel for so many years, she could tell who was sincere and who was fake. Feng Qingxiu really didn't care about her past. Although some of her neighbors accepted her reformed self, they still cared about her past and secretly told her family's young wives and eldest daughters not to have contact with her, so as not to ruin her reputation or learn the bad habits of the brothel. It has been more than 10 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China. Except for Wang Quilin, Chen Swiniang does not have a single good friend. It can even be said that Wang Quilin was just an acquaintance with her before. Wang Quilin listened to Chen Swiniang's words and nodded, agreeing very much, and said, "You are right, a biological child can raise a white-eyed wolf. What does it matter whether it is a biological child or not? Okay, the things have been delivered and the bicycles have been returned to you. I'm going home," Chen Swiniang said. "I send you." Wang Quilin sent Chen Swiniang outside the back door, and was just a few steps away from her door. She met Zheng Jinrui and came over to greet them. "Comrade Wang Quilin, Comrade Chen Swiniang, where are you going?" Wang Quilin smiled and said, "I'm not going anywhere, I'll take Snow Lady home." Zheng Jinrui snorted and said to Chen Swiniang, "You have to go to work tomorrow. Comrade Chen, please don't be late." "Don't worry, Director, I naturally cherish my work," Chen Swiniang said calmly. "Then there is nothing to say." Watching Chen Swiniang enter, Wang Quilin turned around and asked Zheng Jinrui, "Old Zheng, when are you Lan and Shen Fiheng planning to hold a wedding? Will it be held in the canteen of the textile factory? My niece specifically told me before she went home that she would let me know when it was decided. Tell her, after all, we are the real matchmakers for this young couple." Zheng Jinrui shook his head and said, "I haven't heard of a date. I'm just waiting for the moment. I'll tell you as soon as I have news." Shen Fiheng was preparing to make a betrothal gift. Although the Zhou family didn't care about this, Shen Fiheng didn't want to wrong Zhou Yulan. At the same time, he took people to paint and tidy up the new house. It would take about a month or two to marry a beautiful woman. Really envious. Wang Quilin stopped asking questions after hearing what he said. However, a few days later, Chen Swiniang came to invite her to see Zibao again. "They should be busy with farming right now," Wang Quilin said. "That's right, let's go and help, even if it's to cook a meal or wash clothes for the kids." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 497. The Wanglu Brigade was really busy. All the children who were going to school went home to participate in labor, including Lu Tianjun. This kid is usually very quiet. I don't know how he communicated with his teachers and classmates this year. He actually brought a large number of teachers and classmates with urban household registration to help collect. The 7th team of Wanglu only needs to take care of food and housing. Of course, what Lu Tianjun brought back would help his own team 7 first. Younger children such as Song Gang had to pick up wheat ears, let alone Feng Qingxiu. Last year during the confinement period, there was a reason not to go to work. This year, Zibao was just over a year old and could be taken care of by older children. Therefore, Feng Qingxiu had no reason not to go to work. She was about to go to work together when Wang Zhenqiu arranged for her to he and a few women who were not very good at housework but were good at housework cooked for the teachers and students who came to help, including Wang Xiao. The grain is delivered by the Wanglu Brigade, because when Team 7 is finished, it will be done by other production teams, and no production team will suffer. As for the accommodation, it's simple. The weather is hot, so many folks are laying bunks on the floor outside. There is a large open space in front of the office of the production brigade secretary, covered with straw mats made by the folks themselves. Men and women can be separated. If the weather is bad, they can move into the office. Farming was busy and it was a rare time of year to have dry food, so Wang Zhenqiu was merciless in providing food. We arranged for people to take the raw grains to the city in exchange for finished grains and come back with multi-grain pancakes, sweet potato dry brown rice porridge, or corn crumbs porridge and vegetable steamed buns, along with various vegetables and various pickles sent by the folks, 3 meals a day. Ensuring that the teachers and students who come to help are well fed and drunk. They couldn't get enough to eat based on the standard rations in the city, and now they work very hard in order to have a full meal. Although they worked slowly at first and did not do well, who is not a smart person? Got it all started in 2 days. Young people are nimble with their hands and feet, but they just can't keep up with the skills of the old farmers. But, that's enough, it has reduced the workload of the folks. Not only that, Lu Tianjun's class teacher, Teacher Wang, also asked Lu Tianjun to go back to school, take his letter to the principal, and gathered 100 male and female students to come and participate in labor, in the name of learning the hard-working spirit of farmers. In the past, the Wanglu Brigade was busy with farming for more than a month, but this year it was completed in more than half a month. The grain was put into the warehouse, and the rice, corn, and summer sweet potatoes were put into the fields. Both parties were very happy. It can be said that everyone was happy. The villagers were grateful for the help from the teachers and students in the towns, but the teachers and students in the towns said that the country people were honest and fed them every meal. They also gave them a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits to take back when they left. So the latter said Wang Zhenqiu immediately agreed to come back to work during the autumn harvest. He thought about the 2,000 acres of extra land this year. After everyone left, Feng Qingxiu quietly raised her thumb at Wang Zhenqiu. Of course, the smartest one is there Tianjun. Wang Zhenqiu pretended not to see it and said with a straight face, "Go back quickly, I see the dark clouds are a bit thick, I'm afraid it's going to rain. Don't worry about it raining, they have already dried all the grain and put it into storage, and this rain is just the right time for watering." The crops that had just been planted on the ground were about to be harvested again in autumn. As for the situation of other production brigades, he had no control over it. Feng Qingxiu remembered that today was Saturday, and Chen Swiniang would come over to help after get off work on Saturday afternoons recently, so she handed Zibao over to Lu Tianjun and the others to take care of her. She wore a bamboo hat and took 2 sets of raincoats and a bamboo hat to the intersection. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 498. As soon as we reached the intersection, raindrops started to fall. However, it's small. Feng Qingxiu put on her raincoat and continued walking forward. After walking for 2 or 3 miles along the road, the raindrops began to become heavier and closer. Just when she was anxious, Chen Xuanyang's figure riding a bicycle finally appeared in her sight. "Sister Xuanyang, stop! Stop!" Feng Qingxiu yelled, quickly stepped forward, waited for her to get out of the car, and put the coir raincoat and bamboo hat on her body. The clothes were thin in summer and had been soaked in the rain, so the clothes were close to her body, showing off her curves. Unexpectedly, Chen Xuanyang is already in her 40s, but her figure is as good as that of a little girl. It's raining, don't get caught in the rain and freeze. Chen Swiniang held the bicycle with one hand and touched the hedgehog-like raincoat with the other hand, but her heart felt warm. Thank you, King Xiu, for coming all the way to greet me. I haven't thanked you yet, sister. I've been busy with farming lately, and you come over every week to help with housework and taking care of the children. It saves me so much trouble. Feng Qingxiu changed the subject after saying that, hey, this isn't Uncle Cheng's bicycle, you bought it, but it doesn't look like new one. Chen Swiniang pursed her lips and smiled, I couldn't get a bicycle ticket and couldn't buy a new one, so I asked Chen Fiheng to get me an 80% new bicycle. The lady's bicycle is much lighter to ride than Mayor Cheng's. It can't carry heavy objects. I think it's not a big deal to borrow Mayor Cheng's bicycle all the time. Even if Sister Quillen doesn't care, the gossip from outsiders is like a knife. Even if it wasn't new, it still cost the price of a new bicycle, so she wouldn't tell Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu thought of the bicycle in her space. It was time to find an opportunity to take it out. Lu Tianjun needed a bicycle to go to school. Although he said walking was fine, how could his family be willing to let him walk back and forth every week? Did Shen Fiheng help? It was not in vain that I helped him say good things to the Zhou family. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, Sister Xuaniang, do you know him too? Chen Xuaniang whispered, we know him. I have money and tickets in my hand, and he has connections. In those years, food was tight. I couldn't stand in line alone, or it was my turn to step forward, and there was no food in the food store. Shen Fiheng really helped a lot. I spent some money and he asked his people to line up early for me, or he helped me get some high-priced food, so I didn't starve to death. People like Shen Fiheng have a wide circle of friends and can speak to all kinds of people. Feng Qingxiu was about to ask Shen Fiheng about the wedding date when she arrived home unknowingly. She pushed her bicycle into the side room, and as soon as she took off her raincoat and bamboo hat and hung them under the eaves outside and entered the main room, Zibao came over and pulled her out. Mom! Mom! Play! Play! Feng Qingxiu picked him up and pointed to the rain curtain outside the door. Baby, it's raining. You can't go out to play when it rains. It's raining. It's raining, Zibao shouted happily, urging Feng Qingxiu to go out. He obviously remembered the rainy scene a few days ago. The adults were so busy that they finally caught up with the rain when it stopped. After cleaning up, the little ones played wildly in the rain. They slipped and fell to the ground covered in mud, with mud on their hands and face, like mud monkeys crawling out of a mud pit. Chen Swiniang put down the bamboo basket she brought and clapped her hands. Zibao, look what delicious food my aunt has brought for you. As soon as he heard about the food, Zibao's eyes lit up and he immediately slid down from his mother's arms. He held the handle of the bamboo basket and looked inside. He held the handle with one hand and opened the cloth on the bamboo basket with the other. Eggs, he pointed at the eggs in the bamboo basket, very happy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 499. Feng Qingxiu lifted the basket and put it on the table to avoid being pushed down by the little fat man and breaking the eggs. While urging Chen Swiniang to go into the house to change clothes, she gave her old cotton and linen clothes and pants, and said, Sister Swiniang, you don't bring something with you every time you come, whether it's eggs, meat, or cookies, candies, and cakes. Now, Chen Swiniang is their most popular guest. Children have the most sensitive minds, and eating is always a priority in their lives. Feng Qingxiu never went into the city and almost never took food out of the space for fear of arousing suspicion, so the arrival of Chen Swiniang was the happiest time for the children. Even if she brought a piece of candy, they would be happy for a long time. Chen Swiniang changed her clothes and put the wet clothes on the clothes rack to dry. You know me, one person has enough to eat and the whole family is not hungry, and there is no shortage of money. I have a salary of more than 30 yuan a month, and I can have all the food in the cafeteria eat, and go to a state-owned restaurant to get a toothpaste when you're hungry. In addition to staple food, which requires food stamps, and canteens charging a certain amount of gas stamps, there are no tickets for eating vegetables and meat in canteens and state-owned restaurants, as long as you have money. Chen Swiniang always treated herself well, and continued, the first 2 times I came here, there was not even a pig hair left in the grocery store. I was lucky today. I took a look before I came and bought a pair of large intestines and a few. You can make pork rib soup for Zibao and make some noodles. The weather was hot and the meat would spoil easily if left out for a long time. The 2 of them hurried to clean it up, and Chen Swiniang distributed the halva she brought to the children. First stew the ribs, then clean the pig intestines. The biggest dish in the evening is the stir-fried fat intestines. Feng Qingxiu first served a large plate and asked Guancheng to deliver it to Uncle Su and Aunt Su. She also asked Father Lu to come back for dinner. And, Grandpa said he was eating with Grandpa Su and Grandma Su, so he won't come tonight. When he learned that Chen Swiniang was coming, Lu's father deliberately avoided it to prevent others from gossiping. Feng Qingxiu nodded, not taking it seriously, and greeted everyone to start eating. Their family has long been inseparable from Uncle Su, Aunt Su, and his wife. Sometimes Father Lu would eat with them in the cowshed if he didn't want to come over. Anyway, there was enough food. At night, the 2 sisters slept in the same bed, with Zibao sleeping soundly after eating and drinking. The windows are wide open, and there is a cool breeze after the rain, and there are bursts of fragrance. There are many mosquitoes in the summer, and the mosquitoes after the rain rush to the house, so Feng Qingxiu burned a bundle of wild mugwort in each house to repel mosquitoes before going to bed. After all, it was much better. Zibao's father has been away from home for a long time. Don't you miss him? You don't usually contact him, Chen Swiniang asked. I think about it. Why don't I think about it? Feng Qingxiu replied without hesitation. A trace of longing flashed in her eyes, but, I put my country first, my family first, so no matter how many thoughts I have to suppress them all in my heart, lest outsiders think my thoughts are dissatisfied with my family's Ajiang stationed at the border. As for contact, I can only rely on letters, there is no other way. Even if it was a letter, she only received the first letter 2 or 3 months after Lu Zhang left. The second letter was received a few days after Chen Swiniang returned to the city. Along with the letter, she received 2 baggage. It is filled with medicinal materials and specialties purchased by local people from Lu Jiangchuo. The whole article is about Lu Jiang's concern for his family, and the question of whether Zibao will call him daddy. In response to Feng Qingxiu's several letters asking him if he could take Zibao to visit him in the army, he finally gave a negative answer. Cannot visit relatives. First, the environment in the plateau area is far away and the environment is harsh. Second, the conditions in the army are difficult and there is no way to accommodate family members who come to visit relatives. Haha, nothing went wrong today. I won't update it at noon. I will update it in the afternoon. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 500. Although Feng Qingxiu was a little disappointed in this regard, Lu Jiang's reply was within her expectations. He didn't want his wife and children to endure hardships during the long journey, and he was even more worried that his wife and children wouldn't be able to adapt to the harsh plateau climate. But as his wife and Zibao's mother, why didn't Feng Qingxiu miss him? Don't want your son to see his father when he recognizes someone? Zibao still doesn't know who his father is, and he doesn't know his own father. Feng Qingxiu was very worried that father and son would be like strangers when they met. Zibao. She glanced at her fat son flopping in the bathtub and said, Zibao, when will you call me daddy? The sun is very poisonous and the water is warm. Therefore, Zibao likes to take baths very much recently. He rolls in the dust every day. When he comes back, he strongly urges his mother to give him a bath, because his mother would strip him naked and put him in the bathtub after he got his clothes dirty. Feng Qingxiu put Lu Jiang's photo in front of Zibao's eyes. Look, this is Dad, come on, shout with Dad, Dad. For more than half a year, she had been rubbing it with her fingers for a long time, and the photos were not as clear as when they were first developed. Fortunately, she specifically asked the photographer to develop a few more photos, and all the photos were the same. Mom, Zibao sat in the water, splashed the water, glanced at the photo, and looked at his mother with incomprehensible eyes. Feng Qingxiu squatted by the basin and clicked on the handsome and upright husband in the photo of a family of 3, Zibao, look, he is your dad. You are over a year old. You should learn to call daddy. You can already call mommy. You can't stop learning this word just because your father is not at home. He is a soldier and a hero, and he is the pride of our family. Zibao stretched out her chubby finger and pointed at Feng Qingxiu in the photo, revealing her white baby teeth. Mom. Yes, this is Mom, this is the baby, and this is Dad. Feng Qingxiu pointed out to her son in turn, and finally her finger stopped on Lu Jiang. Can you call me Dad? When Dad comes back, you can call Dad loudly. Dad must be very happy. Zibao tilted his head and suddenly pointed at the door and shouted, Dad. Feng Qingxiu turned around suddenly, only to see an unknown soldier standing at the door of her house. He was about 30 years old, wearing a not-so-old summer military uniform, with an imposing look and a weathered face. He was carrying a luggage bag in one hand, but his right arm was bare where there should be an arm. Who are you? Feng Qingxiu stood up, having a guess in her mind. The other party put down the duffel bag and saluted her with his left hand, Zhao Anbang. Sure enough it was him. Feng Qingxiu said hurriedly, Brother Anbang, don't stand outside, come in quickly. She called Song Gang to find Father Lu. The children all went to school, only Song Gang was still at home. It's coming, Auntie. Feng Qingxiu gave Song Gang 2 cakes before and asked him to eat them in the house so that they wouldn't be seen by Zibao, so as not to be snatched away by Zibao. When Feng Qingxiu called him, he had just eaten. After finishing, he wiped his mouth, ran out of the main room, glanced at Zhao Anbang, under Feng Qingxiu's guidance, bent down and called uncle respectfully, and then ran to the cowshed. Gangzi? Is this the child adopted by brother Cao? The military had not concealed these things, and Zhao Anran had heard about it. Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly. Yes, brother Cao and sister-in-law Xinru are stationed at the border. It is really inconvenient to come to pick him up, so he is fostered with us and sends money and food stamps every 2 or 3 months.